Greetings, sir. Anam here. Thank you for joining us today, sir. So my question to you is that in a lot of your talks and even now, you redirect our focus towards ourselves as living beings. And as living beings, all of us seek contentment and happiness. So my question to you is, how does one be content without being complacent? How does one achieve that? Contentment without complacency, without becoming complacent.
See, complacency can be there only when you have just not bothered to inquire into the facts of your life. Otherwise, it is impossible to be smug and ultra confident about your state. None of us factually are in a great state internally. It's an unfortunate fact, but a fact is a fact. So there is sickness, and there is incompleteness, and there is dissatisfaction, and there is psychosis, and we are anxious, and we are afraid, and when the placement season comes, then we are jittery, and when the next fellow gets a higher pay package, then we are jealous, and we know all these things are there. And knowing all these things, if we still certify ourselves to be internally healthy, then there is something very wrong with our compass of honesty. No? Either that, or we are so afraid that we just do not even want to inquire within. Am I okay? Why did I just start trembling? I mean, standing in front of that interview room. Let's say it's a day zero company. And I suddenly find myself weak in the knees and shaking in my trousers. Why is that happening? And it's a very real happening. It's actually physical. You can't even say that it was inside, so I didn't see. It is there in the body. You cannot deny its presence. But having seen all that, if we still want to insist that we are happy and this and that, then there is a great problem. Now coming to contentment. Contentment is just the very last thing. At your stage in life, as a young person, you should have a lot of dissatisfaction. Lot of dissatisfaction. Because if you settle at the point you already are, inwardly, outwardly, within, without, then you would be settling at a very suboptimal point. Your potential is far higher. So there is no point talking of contentment at this stage, because being what we are at this age and stage, we do not even know what contentment is, so we are bound to misinterpret it. So leave contentment for a later stage. At this point, rebel and rise. See what confines you, and do not accept it. You getting it? Fight it out. And do not bother too much for the result. If you have given a good fight, then the word contentment can probably kick in. In the sense, I did the utmost I could. Beyond this, it was not possible for me to do anything. Honestly, I say that. There is nothing that I held back. I gave the fight more than what I had. Now you can probably be contented. But contented not in the sense that the fight is over. Contented in the sense that now you are ready for the next and bigger fight. Right? Final contentment is final deliverance. It is liberation actually. So do not talk of that. When I talk to young people, it is much more advisable that they look at things and they challenge them, they question them. And believe me, and you need not actually believe me, you see this thing with your own eyes. Much in the world today needs to be challenged and demolished. Do not be easily satisfied. Just do not be easily satisfied.
Thank you, sir. Sir, and there's this follow-up question which I already had, and you touched upon that topic about the outcome, not bothering more about the outcome. However, sir, we're actually driven, we're living in this outcome-driven world, goal-oriented, outcome-driven world. So how does one achieve that detachment of giving their best while at the same time not focusing much on the results?
No, it is not detachment really. I would say you have to be in love with your war, your action. If you're challenging something, if you have taken up an enormous project, be in love with it. I'm not talking of detachment, you see. I'm talking of love here. Be in love with it and give it just everything that you have. For that, you would first of all require the work to be that enormous and that lovable. In anything that you enter, in anything that you take up, the quality of relationship must be so high that you are encouraged to, that you are left choiceless in that regard. You cannot hold yourself back. You will not say, now it is 6 p.m, so I must get up from my seat and leave. Or that in this task I was supposed to contribute only so much and no more. Give it all that you have, and once you have given it all that you have, you will find that you will be left with very little time, space, or energy to bother about the result. See, bothering about the result is an energy intensive affair, is it not? You may take 3 hours just preparing for an exam, and then you may keep worrying about the result for 30 days. Worrying, brooding, thinking about the result, all this consumes a lot of our lives. Now, if you are worrying about the outcome, I would say, why do you have spare time at all? Why has this time firstly not been utilized in the action itself? And if you would say, well, the deed is done, now I have spare time, I will say, then what about the next and the higher deed? Why are you squandering away even one moment of this precious but limited life? How come you have the time, right? So when one is madly in love, when one is intensely in action, then outcome becomes immaterial. Not because one is indifferent or detached. No, it is not a case of detachment. It is a case of intense love. I gave everything that I had. Now, it is difficult to differentiate between defeat and victory. You could say the one who could differentiate between these two, the one who could be affected by the outcome, is left with nothing to be affected with. He held back nothing. He gave everything that she had. You see, think of a 6-hour Wimbledon final. Think of a 6-hour Wimbledon final, or a 7-hour match. We have had matches like that, right? The loser, believe me, does not really regret that match. I have read of champions, Grand Slam champions, who, when asked about their most unforgettable match, would not talk about one of their Grand Slam finals or semi-finals. They would talk about one match that they fought and lost. No, that is one match that they cannot forget. That is one match that brought life to them as never before. Because that was the thing that drained everything out of them. And finally, when the winning shot was played, neither side could differentiate between victory and defeat. As a spectator, you would mind who held the trophy, no? And only one of the two parties is now carrying the trophy. So you would say, oh, well, Nadal won and Federer lost. But ask them who have just, played a 5-setter that extended up to 6 hours, 7 hours. Ask them, and they say, well, this is my most unforgettable match. I do not remember who won and who lost. That is something I won't remember. And the match I cannot forget. That's the way to live life. Live it so intensely that in the end, you are left with no energy to be concerned with the result. And that does not mean that you will necessarily meet defeat. Sometimes there is victory, sometimes there is defeat. But that is not the point. The point is how you have played the game. And play it with all your might. It raises you like anything. It raises you to enter a bigger game, a higher game. And that's the game.